Hey, everyone. What's happening? What's happening? Robert Kennedy III, Arcade 3. That's me in the house with another storyteller session. Listen, if you have not seen these sessions, we've been popping up with storytellers, with people who have something that they want to really share, especially since a lot of us are home. A lot of us are operating differently. COVID-19, Corona, quarantine, whatever you want to call it, has caused life to shift and just turn a corner for a lot of us. And some of us are figuring out how to operate with kids at home. Some of us are figuring out how to do our work at home. Some of us are trying to figure out businesses, etc. There's a whole lot that people are trying to figure out. But there are some people that are doing some things or checking some things off their bucket list, things that they thought about a long time ago, but they didn't really get a chance to operate in that way, or they didn't really get a chance, or they had not ever made the time to do certain things. So I want to share with you in just a little bit an author who has utilized this time to release a children's book. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do that, if you are just joining this and you're watching it via replay, I just want you to sign in and type in the comments, hashtag replay if you're doing that. The other thing that I want you to do is I want you to share this, because I know that this conversation is going to provide value for quite a few people. Okay, so go ahead and share this. Go ahead and go down to the bottom wherever you are. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and share it. If you are on Periscope, go ahead and share it. If you are on YouTube, go ahead and share it with your friends. Just copy the link and share it with somebody. Come on in, because we're going to be having a great conversation. So here's the thing. I'm going to actually bring my guest on right now, and her name is Valine Campbell. Now, I gotta say, I have a special place in my heart for this guest. I do. And the reason that I have a special place in my heart for this guest, I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've interviewed a lot of people for the last, my gosh, maybe 10 years. I've had a podcast or something of some sort. So I've interviewed a lot of people. I don't know if people know this, Valine. I don't know if you even know this. I was a radio news anchor for a little while as well, a long time ago.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was really long time ago.
No.
And so interviews, I had a gospel music website, and I did a lot of interviews there. That was the entire purpose of that site. And so I've been interviewing for a very long time.
Okay, so this is nothing for you.
well, yeah, I've been doing it for a little while. So the thing that I wanted to share with everybody now, though, is that, hey, I'm introducing an author, but Valine is my cousin. Like blood. This is not like play cousin. Hey, what's up? I claim you. What's up, auntie? This is my blood cousin. Yes. And why this is special is because she was posting about a book that she is releasing, and I had no clue that she even had a remote interest in being an author or writing, and she's writing a children's book, y'all. Let me actually share the cover of this book with you really quickly, so that you can see this, okay? And I love the title of it. It is called The Amazing Zoe Defeats the Germlins. If that's not a kid's book, The Amazing Zoe Defeats the Germlins.
Zoe is amazing.
Wow. So I wanted to share that so that people can see the story and see what's happening. So, Valine, I've been talking all this time.
It's okay.
What's up? How are you doing?
I'm good. I have to let you know too, because I do interviews as well, and I'm on the other side of the chair this time, and it's a little strange. I was actually a little nervous.
Really?
I normally get nervous for stuff like if I'm in front of the camera, but this is a little different, because this is a different baby. Let's say, right?
So for those who don't know, those who have not seen you or interacted with you before, I mean, you have not authorship is not your main gig. Tell people a little bit about what it is that you do. I know that you have a business. Share with us a little bit about that.
Oh, right, sure. So, my background is physical therapy. In Canada, we say physiotherapy.
Oh,
And yeah, I have a home health care business. So, what that is, I mean, it's an agency. What we do, we outsource physiotherapists, nurses, personal support workers. I'm not sure what you call them in the US. I think it's maybe nurse aides or something like that.
yeah.
And we are community based. So we send our rehab and our medical team out into the community. And that's where people, end up having their services. So, for example, people have been in car accidents, maybe stroke, any type of medical care that you require. You may not be able to go into the clinic. This is what we do. We support people in the community. So that's called Revita Health Home Health Care and Wellness Services, based in Toronto.
So let's back up just for a second. And you haven't had this business for 20 plus years. You started this business just a few years ago. What made you? What decision? What happened in your life where you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to start this business?
First of all, I knew I always wanted to do something. I wanted to have my own business. Thankfully, I do have a role model, which is my father. He started his own business, but that was in interior decorating, painting, and so forth.
Yeah.
So at least I had that example. I saw the flexibility, and I liked it. I've always been that person who kind of liked to skip to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah.
And then when I was in school, I was doing my undergrad at this time, and I would work with patients in the hospital. I would do maybe working as a physical therapy aide, and moving all along, I would work in different places. And that same story you hear over and over. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. This isn't it. This isn't the end all be all. I've got to do more. I decided to branch out, and that happened in 2015. That was when I first launched, and I didn't have all the answers. I really didn't. I was really fumbling and finding my way through it. Google was a great tool, and asking questions, right?
Yeah.
But really what it was is just getting over the fear, because what I realized is that there are always going to be naysayers. There are always going to be people who are going to be like, what are you doing? You can't. Just those negative voices, and maybe they're not even there. Maybe it's just even yourself.
Yeah.
And I had to overcome that. So, here we are almost 5 years later, and it's still kicking. So I'm grateful for that.
Have you had to do anything to maybe shift your mental toughness or your mindset around entrepreneurship, the ups and downs of it? What has changed for you mentally?
Oh my gosh, that question. Okay, first of all, I walked in entrepreneurship and business ownership with a very different understanding of the work. I'm going to be honest, folks. There's a lot of work that's entailed in starting your own business, right? I had the expectation that, okay, I get my website up, I register the business, and in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have my first few clients. I'm probably going to have about 20 clients at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Crazy. It was nothing like that. Not even close.
Yeah.
I want to say it took up to 5 months for my first client.
Wow.
Probably about 5 months. It was scary, because at that time, I quit my job. I just quit it, right? Crazy. Because my mind says oh, please, I'm just going to live off of what I have for the next month and everything's going to be fine. But I wouldn't recommend that you do it the way that I did, because you don't have to struggle in getting started. All you have to do is have a plan. But my plan wasn't completely outlined, and it was a little bit of, easy breezy. I've never really had that type of resistance in life. Yeah. So I just kind of carried it through and thought it would be not a no-brainer. Not like that. You have your highs, you have your lows, and I think that's completely expected, and it's always going to happen that way. Yeah. Even when I speak to people who've been in the business maybe 20, 30 years, ahead of me, they have their high and low moments too.
Yep.
But you gotta build the tolerance, and the resistance to know and expect that those highs and lows are gonna come. But you gotta pivot. Learn how to pivot. That's my word for business. Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people are having to do right now. I mean, much like you're in Canada, I'm here in the US, and we're in the same place where people are not able to work in the same way, especially if you're a business owner. You've got to think and operate a little bit differently. Yeah, there's some businesses that are really finding success at this time because they're able to leverage some of the things, people are at home. I mean, I look at some of the online platforms, Zoom, my goodness, right?
Okay.
Zoom's business has, I don't even know if there's a percentage that it is. It's not even 4 or 5 times. It's like in the thousands at this point, right? So their business has gone nuts. Okay.
And now we're scrambling to match them, but
yeah. I mean, things like this. I'm looking into my camera right now, right? I have, for those of you that don't know, I've got a Logitech C930 right now. I've had a Logitech C920, and I had that for like the last 5 years. Right? I bought it, and it was $129 when I got it. I'm looking online right now for cameras, and cameras that were selling for $120 are now like $300.
You're kidding.
No, seriously.
Okay, because everyone's moving on. Like, people have no choice right now.
Right.
Talking about with pivoting, you have to move with what's happening in order to stay alive.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, coming from my angle, because as I said, we have to go out into the community, and we already know, we've been listening to the news, what's happening with healthcare providers, and if they're not getting affected by the COVID directly, there's fear, that maybe by chance I'm going to become infected or infect my family and so forth. So, there's shortages, and that's what we're experiencing. I haven't been back to work full time either because, as you know, I had a little girl, and funny enough, right when I was deciding to get back to work, this is when the lockdown happened, right? So I ended up having a little more free time where that's concerned anyway, because the plan of going back full time just wasn't there. So I was like, okay, what else am I going to do? Some of the workers are taking time off themselves.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, okay, I just got to do something. I can't let this time go by without anything. And funny enough, Robert, sometimes I might not be able to sit down and watch all of your podcasts and so forth, but if I'm in passing and I see something, believe you me, certain messages are just soaking in the brain. The brain has no option but to soak in whatever it's exposed to. And if I hear the questions, what are you doing during this, this lockdown? Or what's keeping you busy? Like, those are the questions that keep coming up. And if we're honest in asking ourselves this, like, a lot of us, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of us can squeeze out an extra hour in the day or 2 hours in the day.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of where all of this is coming from.
So let's introduce people to what this is. We've started to talk. We started out the conversation. We've asked you about work. I talked a little bit about your book, but right before we came on, I was asking you the question, where did this come from? Did you just decide, you're sitting at the dinner table, you're saying, hey, I think I should write a book, right? And then you just did it. Or, tell us a little bit about the genesis of that and how you began to utilize your time.
Okay. I actually posted something like this on my Instagram page because I've always been someone who would walk around with notepads and agenda books. I still do. I don't put everything in my electronics right now.
Yeah.
And I had a to-do list. Like every year I go into each year with a theme, whether it be a word or, of course, my 10, 20 goals for the year.
Right.
And Robert, I just kept seeing the goal just circle back, like keep coming back year after year, year after year. And I just never attacked it. I wanted to write something. I've always wanted to write something. And as I said, just passing by, hearing one of your podcasts one day, like there's just too many messages that were coming, whether it would be yours or other people. And it's like the question came, what are you doing with your time?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I have no excuse. But the problem was I didn't know what I was going to write about,
Wow.
right? I didn't know what I was going to write about. So, we're in the process of a pandemic right now, and I started to think, okay, how could I use this? Because epidemiology isn't my thing. My thing is rehabilitation. So I started thinking about the kids, asking friends about their children. How are they dealing with being locked inside, not going to school, and hearing what people had to say? I was like, you know what? There's room for something like this for children to help them understand what they can actually do
Yeah.
to get through this time, right? So
Yeah. So I want people to get that. You didn't just sit down and start to over process or over analyze in your mind. You started to think about what was accessible to you quickly, and then you started to ask questions. You started to ask questions. So I just want people to get that. If you're on the not podcast, if you're on the session right now, if you're on this live session right now, I just want you to type yes in the chat if you know that there's something that you need to be doing right now that you have not done yet. Just go ahead and type yes. And if you're brave, go ahead and type in the comments what it is that you know that you should be doing if you have not started to do it yet. Okay, just go ahead and share that with us. So Valine, you decided that you wanted to do this book. How did you set aside time? How did you get yourself in the mindset of, okay, I need to do this work. How can I get it done?
Okay, the time, it's so funny because it's always it's something I feel I just don't have.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I have a young baby now. I put her to bed like probably around 9 o'clock. And I just remember it was about 11 p.m. one night. I just said out loud, enough is enough. Like I said, enough is enough. And I
Right.
grabbed my laptop, I slammed it on the table. Well, kind of. And I just started writing. I wasn't paying attention to grammar. I wasn't paying attention to punctuations, none of that. I just started writing, right?
Wow.
I just let it come out. And then literally this was April 1st. And within 2 or 3 nights, it was finished. Like
Wow.
the concept was finished. And I just kept going back over, the next few days and just tweaking it and what have you. And then I of course started with prayer. I always start anything that I do. I always start with prayer too. So
Yeah.
I prayed about it and I just said, Lord, just let it come, and it did. And I just kept moving with it. So that was the beginning.
Wow. So you not only map out the concept, you write all of the words, and then you get somebody to illustrate this book for you. Tell us a little bit about how that came together.
Um, well, guys, have you heard of something called Fiverr?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I actually just sourced a few editors, not just one. I sourced 3 different editors, and I spent a lot of time looking for an illustrator on the same platform, and that was it. That was just the beginning of it.
So back up for a second here. You sourced 3 editors. Why did you look for 3 editors as opposed to just one?
It's something in my head that I always do. Anytime I'm looking for estimates, anytime I'm looking for quotes on anything, 3 is just that number. It's a special number, right?
Okay.
And I also thought it would be important to get the perspective of 3 different people. Of course, they don't know each other.
Right.
And they seem to have brought something different each time, different expertise. To be honest, I preferred the last 2 that I had, but even still, the first one was still able to offer, like, as I mentioned, I just wrote and there were no punctuations or grammar checks or anything. So I let that person do that and help me with the sequencing of the story as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I want to really kind of pull some of these lessons out as we go, and I want to have you read some of this in a little bit, but I want people to look and remember and notice here. Number one, she didn't get caught up in perfection. That one of my coaches would say progress is better than perfection, right? Sometimes you're so caught up in making sure that everything is right that you don't do anything. Paralysis analysis, right? Yes. Analysis paralysis. And so we really want to be able to put ourselves in a position where we're moving forward, we're taking action, and we're doing something. So you got the editors, you got the illustrator, and then what was next?
After that, I went back to the editor. Mm-hmm. I went back to the editor that gave me the most, I guess, the most of the reviews. She was very thorough. She would give me a complete breakdown of like, okay, this is what you need to do here. This is what you need to do there. Part of it too is honestly, I haven't had formal writing experience in a very long time. I've been out of school for
just a couple of years. Yeah.
Right. So it's been a long time. I haven't needed to write anything to that extent before. And even though it is a children's book, you still need grammar and things like that. So I went back to her, and then after that, that's when I sent it out for formatting, right? Because I'm publishing it. I'm an indie author, as they say. I'm going to be doing it myself.
Yeah.
Through various platforms. There's platforms you can use, Amazon and whatever. But that was it. Sent it back for formatting, and now it's ready to go. Just to keep in mind, everyone, it's not quite out yet. I actually just had a couple more things that I wanted to do, but I am starting to talk about it to get the buzz out. But,
and then now you've got it on this storyteller session, so you got to get it finished and put out very soon. It's out in public.
Well, it's finished. I actually entered a competition, so I'm just trying to see how that pans out, and then after that, it's ready to go.
Awesome. So where can people go to find the book when it's ready? What do they need to do? Just hop on Amazon? Sure. Do you have a site?
Yes. The easiest thing right now is to go to my personal website, ValeneCampbell.com. You will see buttons of, we can purchase here, but they're not yet activated. Mm-hmm. But what you can do is add your email to the newsletter on the contact page. Yeah. And once it is formally out, then I'll be able to contact you and let you know.
Awesome. Take us into the book a little bit. So I'm going to put this on screen, and if you can read a little bit of it so that we can, number one, hear what you're saying there, but also hear a little bit about what a children's book sounds like.
Okay, no problem. So I'll just start with the first couple of pages because giving away too much.
Yes.
Not want to go out and get it. So we'll start with the first page. It reads like this. Germlins lived on a planet far, far away called Varion. They were tiny monsters that were mean and nasty. Germlins became happier and grew in number when they had a chance to touch anyone or any living thing. Germlins would make people and animals or even trees very, very sick. It's not all together here. Okay, here we go. So one day, Jerry Germlin, the Germlins chief, gathered all the Germlins of Varion together to tell them some big news. He said, I have an idea. Let's make more of us. We will visit the humans and live amongst them. We will become stronger and then take over the planet Earth and even the entire galaxy.
That's awesome. So I just want to pop this picture on screen here because I'm looking at these Germlins, right? And they look eerily similar to those artist renderings of the coronavirus.
That's right.
Yeah, except these are green, but yeah.
Yes. Right. So that was done on purpose because as I mentioned, it was inspired. The book was inspired by our current pandemic. Mm-hmm. And really it was about trying to empower children and let them understand what role they can also play in flattening the curve, right? We've been hearing all these terms, flatten the curve,
Hmm.
and social distancing and hygiene and all of those things, right? So children have an important part to play as well. And once they understand the importance of their own hygiene and so forth, then, I don't want to give away too much of the story, but
Right.
it helps them also participate in this and let them know that they are also important in helping this change and helping this blow over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I love the fact that you are utilizing something that people see as a negative and turning this into a product. You're also leveraging it. You're also changing and shifting the mindset of children around all of the things that are happening now. And you're making a keepsake in some ways. I mean, when we look back in 5 years at this time and we see it, it's not going to be, not everybody's going to look at it and say, hey, that looks like a coronavirus. but some of us will look and say, oh my gosh, this was written during that time because of that
Remember that
image
time?
that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
on the front of it. So
yeah.
that's awesome. So do you have any words of wisdom or advice for people who are maybe looking to decide what it is that they can do during this time?
Sure, sure. It might not be writing a book, it might not be I don't know, building something. But what I would say, especially because right now people are kind of forced to find what their new passions are and so
Right.
forth. So just get a list, write things out. What do I like to do? What can I possibly do to impact someone or a group of people or the world?
Mhm.
And how can I maybe monetize this thing? Right. So I would just say, just start writing. Writing is the biggest thing. I know you talk about storytelling and all that, but it all
Mhm.
comes with putting pen and paper down first, right?
Yeah.
So I would just say, just start writing. Don't care about all the little small details that will come. And as you know, you're not going to be able to perfect it yourself. Don't
Yeah.
let perfection be the thing to stop you from getting started. You said that already. So that's what my take home message is.
Awesome. Awesome. Listen, Valine, thank you. Zoe defeats the Germlins coming soon. Make sure that you look out for that. Get connected with Valine at ValineCampbell.com. That's VALENECAMPBELL.com. And you'll be able to grab that book. Zoe defeats the Germlins real soon, sometime in early May. Is that the
Yes.
date?
Yeah, mid-May, mid-May.
Mid-May.
But
Okay.
definitely just make sure you add your email to the newsletter so you are informed when that release date comes out, and maybe you could even get some discounts.
Excellent, excellent. Listen, Valine, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much. And
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for
having me.
inspiring people to
Sure.
make even better use of their days.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you also. Love